Hey people, how are you doing today? It's Makeda Valletta, and I'm live from Chicago on my Instagram page, the Renaissance Amazon. And I just want to do a quick talk today about education. This has been on my mind a lot because I'm sure you all have seen the stats that I've seen that less and less young people want to go to college, less and less young people see the point of it. My whole adult life, I've been hearing people complain about not learning anything in school, whether it be grade school or college, and that wasn't my experience. But I also feel like it depends on what somebody's goals are in life and what they're studying, okay? Luckily for me, when I was in high school, I went to an excellent public school in New York City. Okay, I was educated by the New York City public school system. I'm not a private school child, and I got a great education in New York City public school. So I will always be pro public school. Now, I know all public schools aren't great, but I've never been impressed by private school people. That's just me. But I was fortunate enough to go to public schools that really stress critical thinking. I remember my history teachers in high school they didn't believe in using history textbooks. So they would always give us primary documents and artifacts and tell us to think like a historian. And we had to make a case for stuff and, back up what we were saying and learn how to write research papers. So my experience in high school was great. And then as a college student, I started off as a biotechnology major first, okay? And I wanted to research cures for genetic diseases. And then in my sophomore year, one of my science professors told me how much money I would make each year doing research, and it just, to me, was crazy low in general, but especially for the amount of work it would take to get a PhD. So I changed my major to exercise and sports science, and I remember with a minor in nutrition, major exercise and sports science, concentration, strength and conditioning, and a minor in sports nutrition. And I remember when I was studying, I kept thinking to myself, all the things that I'm learning, I can use for myself and my family for the rest of my life, okay? Knowing about optimal food and optimal working out and the best ways to do those things is something that I knew, even if I didn't work in the field, it's just information that I could use to help me and my family for the rest of my life. Okay, so there's certain majors like that. And no, I didn't need a degree to be a trainer. No, I didn't need a degree to be, to work in the fitness industry, but the sports industry is different. If you're working with athletes and stuff, as a strength and conditioning coach, which I am, a lot of times they do want you to have a degree. To be a strength and conditioning coach, period, which is the credential is CSCS, certified by the NSCA. Strength and conditioning coaches train athletes, okay? They develop workouts in the weight room for athletes, high school athletes, college athletes, professional athletes. To even get that cert, you have to have a bachelor's degree. But there's so many fly-by-night people in the fitness industry who don't know what they're talking about. I got a very thorough education at the University of Delaware in exercise and sports science. Again, my concentration was in strength and conditioning, which is all about program design and technique for the weight room. Okay? Not just for the weight room, but for athletes and increasing performance and decreasing injury. So that same thing can be applied to regular people. So that has helped me in my life, that and my background in nutritional biochemistry, okay? And I've been able to help my family, my parents. I just completed a master's degree. I went into a master's program in applied physiology and nutrition right out of undergrad. And I think that a lot of times when people are young and they are right out of high school, sometimes they don't know what they want to do, or they have delusion about what it's going to be like. When I went to college, there was no YouTube. Now there's YouTube, and you can do research. You can go see whatever it is that you think that you want to do. You can go listen to people who are in that field who got those degrees talking about it. so you can get some real life, ideas of what to expect. That wasn't around back then. So now you don't really have an excuse because you have YouTube as a great resource for that. But then, I realized in my first graduate program that research was not something that I wanted to do. There's a lot of politics in research, and I wanted to help people. I'm a practitioner, and I would love to be a researcher and a practitioner. For those of you who don't follow my other page, The Body Scientist, you should, okay? On YouTube, it's The Body Scientist 81. Because that's where I post all my health science stuff. All right, and I'm a lifelong student of the body and optimal performance of the body, and that goes from what we put on our skin, what we put in our mouth, to the air we breathe, to what we do with our body, all of it, okay? And in that program, I realized, I started to see the reality of scientific research, which I didn't know coming out of undergrad. Graduate school is a completely different beast than undergrad, okay? Now, I think about this because I just also completed a Master's of Science in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics. And my program was at the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. So being at the School of Pharmacy, all of our professors were pharmacists, okay? And we were learning from a pharmacist perspective, which is different than learning from an herbalist perspective, or it wasn't focused on growing, it wasn't focused on the horticulture. Like some people that entered the program might have wanted to learn more about horticulture and agricultural sciences, but that's not what it was about. It wasn't about growing. It wasn't an agricultural program. It was about the medical science behind it, understanding the biochemistry behind it, knowing how to analyze the research, because that's a lot of what a master's degree is, or graduate degrees, period. But a master's degree is more about analyzing and being able to analyze and digest research, at least a master's of science. I can't say any master's degree. I don't know about a master's of arts and all the others. I'm talking about a master's of science, and then if somebody gets a PhD, you're actually doing research and presenting a dissertation and all of that. So I feel like I'm thankful. Not thankful. I'm glad to see, happy to see so many young black kids still going to college regardless of the rhetoric that degrees are not needed. Because what we don't need in America, we don't need a dumber country, okay? We're already behind. But also, it's important to have discernment and your own critical thinking skills. And it's important to continue to research on your own and not just take what you learn from school as being 100% and the be-all, end-all. School also can't teach you everything. This is also when it comes to little kids, and people always blaming the school system. Like, what about the parents? If you have a kindergartner, first grade, second, third, whatever grade, it's like, what are the parents teaching them? Because I knew my ABCs and how to write, and write my alphabet and count and stuff before I went to preschool because my grandmother taught me. You know what I'm saying? So, same thing as an adult. If you're going into, you got an undergraduate degree, you got a graduate degree, it doesn't stop with the degree. I never stop researching. If you follow my page, The Body Scientist, you will see. Just look at the books that I post on that page. Like, I never stop researching. I'm always reading to this day, okay? Always staying on top of things, always learning new things. And school, I always say, school gave me the foundation to be able to analyze research. The fact that in undergrad I took a lot of biochemistry and organic chemistry and physiology and microbiology and kinesiology and physiology. It gave me it gave me the base to be able to read research, analyze research. Because if you don't have a science background and you try to read and analyze research, you won't have the tools to do so. You won't really be able to tell if what you're reading is a quality study. So, and be able to critique it properly. Okay? And then, my graduate program really forced me and taught me to analyze the research, and worked on my writing a lot. It was a lot of writing, a lot of citing of things. Because a lot of people like to talk and they don't have any receipts, they don't have any citations. And so these are tools that can definitely be used in so many ways. Now, some people get degrees because they're looking for a job. They're looking for someone to hire them. for me, it's like, yes, I might work for somebody, but I've always worked for myself. I've worked for people here and there. I've worked for gyms here and there and different organizations here and there, but it's more like an independent contractor, right? So for me, my motivation to go into, even getting my master's degree in the field that I got it in was because, I wanted to be knowledgeable and thorough on the things that I was going to advise people on when it comes to cannabis medicine. Adding that to my repertoire of working with people when it comes to fitness and nutrition. I mean, it all goes hand in hand. And because the field is new and there's such a disconnect, we all hear this term medical cannabis, but a lot of people don't know what it means, or, they take it for a joke, or they just think that, oh yeah, people are smoking. But there's so many medical applications. Pharmacies are closing. Drugs are like one of the number one killers. Pharmaceuticals are like one of the number one killers of Americans. Okay? And cannabis is a very effective medicine for so many ailments that's not addictive and actually helps your body heal. So I wanted to be not just well versed, but when you're dealing with people, this is the same thing that's true with nutrition and exercise physiology side of my knowledge. When you're dealing with people with different health conditions, right? Like when I'm talking to my parents' doctors about different tests they gave them, I understand everything. I understand about EKGs. I understand about ejection fractions and different respiratory issues. I understand these things. So in working with somebody, I can analyze and understand what's going on with them medically, which is important when you're dealing with somebody who has medical issues. If you're dealing with somebody just like a regular person, maybe that's not so important. But if you're working with people who have, I've worked with people who have physical issues, they could be, serious physical issues, certain injuries or disabilities or things like that. And so no matter who comes at me, no matter what's going on with them physically or physiologically, I'm qualified and knowledgeable to work with them. Okay, and I have been doing that for 20 years. And so I wanted to have credibility behind the things that I'm saying and the books that I write. And so many countries around the world are legalizing medical cannabis. And so it's a new field that isn't fully even put together. It's still being built. So when people, get a degree, and a master's degree is different than a doctorate. A doctorate is really research-based. And even with a doctorate, I think to myself, it takes a lot of thought beforehand to know what it is, what your end goal is with that doctorate, and what kind of research you would want to do. Now, again, I know most about science because that's what I'm in. And I know that it could be different in different fields, but that's important. It's not like undergrad where you just find a major you like and just go to that school, It's a lot more detailed. And so I think that when people are young, sometimes they don't understand that. Because the first graduate program I went into, I didn't understand that. Okay? And I went right out of undergrad. But again, YouTube didn't exist back then. Nowadays, if a young person wants to know and wants to be informed and wants to know the difference, there's YouTube channels about it. But I wouldn't be able, even in my program in medical cannabis science, they said we didn't need a science background. But there was a lot of biochemistry and organic chemistry. And I was able to really follow and understand on a deeper level because I have an extensive background with biochemistry and organic chemistry. Nutrition is all biochemistry, okay? So it helped me to be able to understand it better and to dig deeper, because if someone comes in a program and they didn't have a science background, a lot of times they just take what they've been told, they remember what they have to remember for the test so they can get the grade. But they don't have the skills or the tools, the tools, to be able to dig deeper and make other connections, okay? There's many connections I made by studying cannabis medicine. And the person in this video who keeps asking me to stand up, you're going to get blocked, just so you know. I should write your name down. Okay. So, of course, it depends on the degree you get. I do see some degrees. It is true that the university is a business, and there are people that there are schools that just create degrees because they just want your money. So you have to be smart about what you're getting a degree in. You have to understand what your reason, what your end goal is. Okay, because first of all, let me tell you, a lot of jobs are being taken away now. Okay. A lot of people will be replaced by AI, all right? A lot of people will be replaced by AI, and there's certain professions that can't, like my hairdresser, the woman who does my hair. AI can't replace her, okay? But being able to shift and move and have different skills and looking at certain fields that are growing, just like people do with the stock market. Oh, I'm going to invest in this stock because it looks like it's doing good, okay? Same thing is true with education, I mean, and the thing is that universities have so many highly intelligent people who study certain things that it's like nobody cares to talk to. Like I was looking at I just came back from, I'm going to talk about this on my other page. I just came back from the Cannabis Research Conference. I have this is the bag that I have, Cannabis Research Conference. And many universities, Oregon State University, Colorado State University, Yale. There's a bunch of schools that were involved and there's a lot of research going on in the cannabis space, more than people realize, okay? When it comes to agricultural, plant science, horticulture, agronomy, all to soil science, all the way to the analytical science, to testing, to the medical science, which is what I focus on. Okay, but when you're working with people with certain medical problems, you do need to have an understanding of the language the doctors are using, the tests the doctors are using. I wouldn't understand that if I had not gotten the degrees that I got. I would not understand that if I had not taken the science classes that I took. Okay, and then after that, going to this Cannabis Research Conference, I wouldn't have been able to follow along in that conference if I didn't have a master's in medical cannabis science. 2 years ago, I didn't know, the higher level stuff that I know now. So I can go to a conference and really follow higher level scientific conversations. Because even to be in a conversation about science and analyzing it, you have to have enough knowledge to even be able to speak on it and to follow the conversation and to be able to analyze, okay? Because scientists are very analytical. That's what we do. Question and analyze. Okay, so for me, I can't agree that, I never felt like school was a waste of time for me. Okay? Getting my master's degree was difficult. I had moments where I had a lot of, not gonna lie, some animosity towards all the foreign students that come here and get free degrees. I really think that America treasures foreigners over Americans, which is, I think, starting to piss a lot of Americans off. Okay? Down to these illegal immigrants flooding all these cities and getting things that Americans aren't getting, down to the fact that these universities all love to accept immigrant students and give them all the scholarships. But then when it comes to Americans, especially black Americans, they're not so generous. So, and I can talk about how, I want to do a video about how I managed to, fund my degree without using school loans and using, business credit and side hustles. I'm going to do a video about that as well. And on my other page, The Body Scientist, I'm going to do a review of this Cannabis Research Conference and some of the things that I learned. So be sure to tune into that. I'll probably do that video tomorrow. So make sure you follow me on Instagram and YouTube at The Body Scientist. But yeah, I just think that it's important to really consider the degree you're getting or why you're getting it. Have a plan for it. Understand that degrees don't guarantee a job, okay? Really what I think, especially with a graduate degree, it's not just that you get the degree and you get a job, it's also about your experience and what you've been doing. Okay, so those two things are really important. So people have to understand that. Nothing is promised to anybody, and it's not like, oh, you got this degree, now you're guaranteed a job and success. You have to put the work in. And also, once you get a degree, it doesn't mean that the degree taught you everything there is to know. That's a fallacy. You have to keep learning. And especially if you're somebody in the health sciences where you work with people, or maybe you're in law, now there's a whole area of cannabis law. Okay, now does somebody need to take classes or get a degree in cannabis law to go into it? No. But the more that they formally educate themselves, the better it will be. It will help them, and you keep learning. Most people's houses I go to, they don't have any books. Mofos don't read. People can read on social media all day reading nonsense, but people don't pick up scholarly texts and books and read and think critically. Okay? So school gave me the backbone to be able to dissect research and understand. So this is why, I've been working with people for 20 years, but I'm definitely ready to start doing some higher level advising, some medical advocacy stuff, and I'll talk about that. If you want to find out more about my medical advocacy services and like all of that, I'm going to talk about it probably tomorrow on my page, The Body Scientist. I'll be traveling tomorrow, so hopefully I'll have the time to do that. But just follow me there and look out for it soon, okay? And to anybody out there who's thinking about college, graduate school, whatever, if you have any questions that I could possibly answer, feel free to ask. If you want to add your 2 cents, feel free to do that. I definitely don't think, going into debt, the debt that I incurred from my master's degree is nowhere near what I incurred from undergrad, and I wouldn't do that again. So my master's program was decent, wasn't ridiculously expensive, and I'll do a video talking about that maybe, just for people who might be interested and are trying to fund school, like what my strategy was, because I definitely didn't want any more school loans. And this is where, understanding the credit game and how to maneuver can really help. But both of my degrees taught me a lot. And I definitely think degrees are still worth it, depending on what school that you go to. What you study and what your goals are. And sometimes you may not know, especially as an undergrad, what your goals are yet, but there's certain degrees you can get that are very flexible, that can go a lot of different directions. So you really want to give good thought to that. And even if you're not sure about what you want to do, you might want to think about the lifestyle that you want. What's really important to you? Okay? You really know yourself. Like, I know I can't be in a lab all day. I know I can't sit at a desk all day. I can't do it. So when I think about doing scientific research, I know I don't want to be in a lab. So I think, okay, so then if I were to do a more advanced degree, what degree would I get, because I don't want to be in a lab doing research? So these are all things that somebody has to consider when they're getting any degree. But to those of you who are still in school, Shay, do it. That's what's up. Because we can't have, and I'm not saying that you have to have a degree to be intelligent. I'm not going to say that. I will never say that, because that's absolutely not true. But, and not everybody with a degree is brilliant, and everybody without a degree is not. So I'm not saying that, but there is a baseline. And especially when it comes to the sciences, okay? I can't always speak for other fields, because I've been a science person my entire life. When it comes to the sciences, you should get a degree. Because I hear a lot of people, but I'm going to say that it's not everything. Because I hear a lot of people talk about nutrition. They think they're a nutrition expert. They have no background in nutritional biochemistry. And, because they don't have that background, it's like they're just saying anything. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who have those degrees who are indoctrinated and are giving just as bad advice. So school will try to indoctrinate you. That's another thing. And so I feel like doing my graduate degree older, like I wasn't, because I was so experienced. I was so experienced, so knowledgeable, so well read already, that there are things that I can see through. There are things that I know, okay, they're just telling us this because they have to be politically correct, because this is a university, because this is the School of Pharmacy, and they can't say certain things. Even with, nutrition, like when I was studying in the undergrad, I didn't realize the indoctrination that was happening until I went into my first graduate program that was the only nutrition program in the country that wasn't funded by the food industry. And they made us very aware of that. And when they first kept saying that, I didn't understand what the significance was of that. Okay, why do you keep telling us that it's the only program that's not funded by the food industry? Okay, peace, God. So, and the reason why is because the food industry and the pharmaceutical companies are the same people. They're literally the same people. All the medical programs in this country are funded by the pharmaceutical companies, and all of the nutrition programs in this country are funded by the food companies. So there's a lot of indoctrination. But if you take the science, see, most doctors never do this because they're so overworked. They go from medical school to residency. They don't have time to pee, let alone process and think. So that's why it's very easy to indoctrinate doctors. And a lot of times, doctors don't wake up till a couple decades later after they've seen things not work for their patients, and they've seen damage, and they've seen all that, and they start thinking critically and digging deeper and finding the truth. There are doctors who know the truth, and I post them all the time on my pages. But most of them are highly indoctrinated. And the same thing is true with nutritionists. That's why you won't see me interact with many people in my field because of that. So school can also indoctrinate you. So it's important to be able to use your research skills and your critical thinking skills, okay? Critical thinking and research skills to be able to dissect and analyze and come up with your own conclusions and dig deeper. It's always going to be important. In my field, having a background in like all the chemistries and physiologies, it makes it easier for me to understand and analyze a lot of things, okay? So I think I've made that point, okay? You know, you want to be careful about what you're studying, why you're studying it, what your goals are, of course, how you're funding it. For undergrad, you know, when people think that you have to go to Harvard or you have to go to some big, fancy, expensive school, no, okay? You can go to a city school, okay? A degree is a degree as long as you get that information that you need, that backbone, so that you can then dig deeper, learn more, okay? So I think I made my point. I love to see, like, I forget which girl it was. One of the track and field girls, Gabby Thomas. I think they said she's a Harvard graduate. Love to see it. A scholar athlete. Scholar athletes were a thing, especially amongst Black Americans. They were like, what's his name? Paul Robeson. I grew up in his apartment. I grew up in an apartment that Paul Robeson lived in Harlem. He was a scholar athlete. Okay, if you don't know who Paul Robeson is, look him up. Paul Robeson. So, yeah, I'm going to do a video talking about this Cannabis Research conference that I went to in Colorado last week. Headed to New York tomorrow and kind of all over the place, and just trying to, so many things I want to talk about, trying to talk about them when I get a chance. Hopefully somebody found this video helpful. If you did, please like it, please share it, okay? If you are in school or going to school or thinking about going to school, let me know. Just let's talk. But I definitely needed to add another side to that narrative of everybody saying, oh, degrees, like Grant Cardone. He annoys me. Telling his daughters they don't need to go to school because he's teaching them the business. Okay, but you're filthy rich. Your daughters can go to school and study anything. They don't even have to be worried about whether or not they're good at a job. They can study anything and still get that education. And there's a certain thing that college can train you to do. It's different if you're not worried about money. So to me, it's incredibly ignorant that Grant Cardone, you know, it's just like, and then his kids are coming from they have a rich father, they have a rich family, so like they could not go to college and make it. But then you're putting that out there for everybody else that college is a waste. And this is coming from a privileged white man who's rich, okay? So, and he's giving this advice to all these black people, the same black people that support Donald Trump, think Grant Cardone is a god. Then it's just pure ignorance, okay? I love to listen to people who know what they're talking about, who are well-researched. And, you know, school can be indoctrinating, but if you're smart enough, you have enough discernment, especially when you're mature enough, old enough, have had experience, you can see through it. You know what to take, you know what to leave, you know how to build on it. It's all about building on it. Okay? So, I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you later. Make sure you follow my other page, The Body Scientist. Okay, bye.